I'm the Analyst, and I'm here to talk about Hollywood's biggest box office flops. And welcome to Ryan Reynolds Month! Where Mr. Reynolds is going to be the focus of all 4 reviews this month. This week, we'll be starting with his career low, according to my list of flops, as this is the single biggest flop of his career in estimated loss. In fact, it's the second biggest money loser I've found so far. But first, let's discuss the beginning of his career. The Canadian actor first began his acting career in Hillside, a 1991 teenage soap opera that was known as 15 in the United States and later led the ABC sitcom Two Guys and a Girl for its 4-season run, which ran from 1998 to 2001, before getting his first major cinematic role as the eponymous Van Wilder in National Lampoon's Van Wilder. In late 2004, he would join the Blade franchise as Hannibal King in the poorly received Trinity before later joining the Amityville Horror remake in 2005. His career would be relatively quiet for a few years before he got what was his biggest role yet, as Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Reactions to the role were mixed at best, as while most people praised him as Wade Wilson, almost nobody liked how Deadpool was portrayed in the film. Though a lot of that was done by Scott Adkins, primarily for how his portrayal was so far off from its comic iteration, which involved sewing his mouth shut, he's the merc with a mouth, and giving him a collection of superpowers he never had in the comics. Of course, he rebounded that same year with The Proposal, in which he co-starred alongside Sandra Bullock. 2 years later, in fact, on the same weekend The Proposal was released, he would get a major test as a leading man, as well as his third role as a comic book character, and also his third failure. Of course, much like Wolverine, he shouldn't be entirely blamed, as he was at least a decent choice, but it was butchered by everyone else surrounding it. This is Green Lantern. The 2011 science fiction film attempted to be DC's answer to Iron Man, but failed miserably with a very poor product, and while Reynolds isn't to be blamed, the director, writer, and effects certainly are. Green Lantern was directed by Martin Campbell, who had previously resurrected the James Bond franchise twice, as well as the Antonio Banderas Zorro films, plus the Chris O'Donnell mountain climbing feature Vertical Limit, and Mel Gibson's attempt at an acting comeback Edge of Darkness. In fact, this film did quite a bit of damage to his career, and it won't be until The Foreigner opens in October 2017 that one of his films hits cinemas in America. The film's story was drafted by Greg Berlanti, who produced the film and was supposed to direct it, Michael Green, who would later redeem himself with Logan, and Mark Guggenheim, who would later create the Arrowverse, with Michael Goldenberg joining them to write the screenplay. Supporting Reynolds in the cast included such actors as Blake Lively, Peter Sarsgaard, Mark Strong, Angela Bassett, Geoffrey Rush, Tamura Morrison, Michael Clark Duncan, and Tim Robbins. So let's dive right in and see just where this comic book film failed. We open with narration from Geoffrey Rush about the Guardians of the Universe and how they formed the Green Lantern Corps, as well as the emergence of their worst enemy, Parallax, the entity of fear. This clumsy bit of exposition is arguably the only way to introduce the film's incredibly complicated and somewhat weird backstory, but we could have at least had some actual scenes of Parallax in action, as well as his capture by Abin Sur. Maybe it would have alleviated some of the narration. After all, the rule is show, don't tell. Anyway, we fast forward to present day where three aliens crash onto the planet where Parallax is imprisoned, and their fear enables the creature, voiced by Clancy Brown, to break free and destroy them. 6 months later, Abin Sur, the Green Lantern who had originally captured Parallax, and played by Tamura Morrison, is flying to a planet threatened by Parallax only to be informed by Sinestro, who is played by Mark Strong, that he's too late and the planet's inhabitants have been consumed by Parallax. Again, show it, don't tell. Also, as we later see, Green Lanterns are capable of hyperspeed travel through the vacuum of space. So why is he using a ship? Then Abin Sur is attacked by Parallax, but escapes in an escape pod, using his ring to tell Sinestro he's going to find a replacement, as he's been seriously wounded. It's hard to tell which is more fake, the makeup or the costume. Another thing you notice throughout the film is that the Green Lantern uniforms are CG. The filmmakers couldn't even be bothered to make costumes for the film. After that, we finally meet Hal Jordan, played by Ryan Reynolds, with one of his late night stands, only to have to leave her when he finds he's running late for a test at Ferris Aircraft, something he is admonished for by his partner Carol Ferris, played by Blake Lively, who also happens to be the company's vice president. In the test, where the two are put up against two drones, Hal lets Carol get shot down so he can flank and take down the drones, a move he gets called out on by his superiors.